Hi, howdy, and welcome back to another episode of World Bigfoot Radio.
Bigfoot sightings with a grain of salt, but these guys had the footprint evidence, and it happened in a place where there's other Bigfoot sightings.
So this is actually, if I remember right, I was on the phone talking to you when you were driving up there.
Yes, you were, and
yeah, you were excited.
You were.
Excited.
I didn't realize it until I got home, but I have an overhead speaker phone in my truck when I'm driving around. So you were like talking into the cab of the truck. Well, I had my dash cam rolling. So all that's recorded. I was like, I'm going to ask Duke permission to scrub through this and scrub out all the F words and stuff. And maybe I can put out a video of us having a discussion while I was on a Bigfoot expedition.
Oh yeah, I get to be on one of your road drive discussion videos. Hell yeah, man, count me in.
Sounds like you're in the seat next to me, but you were on the speakerphone. I was driving in some crappy snow sleet stuff too. I mean,
oh man, I love it when stuff like that happens. So I got a friend up in Alaska. He's not really a Bigfooter, and he's up there moose hunting. And he calls me from his hunting shack. He says, "We finally got a signal. We're here at the hunting shack. We can kind of get a signal here. I figured I'd let you know. I found a bunch of Bigfoot tracks today." And I'm like, "Really?" And he's like, "Yeah, like a lot." And I go, "How long is your tag for your moose hunt good for? Do you have enough time to like film some of it?" And he's like, "Yeah, we were actually thinking about that. The guy that's with me is into Bigfoot too, so we're going to take tomorrow off over and film all these tracks we found." Dude, they after a while they just got bored and quit doing it because there were so many tracks and trackways. It was absolutely ridiculous. You probably
I saw their video.
The second video he turned out about a year later where it was Land of the Midnight Sun, and it was like almost midnight, and they were filming them in the water there. That was near the same area, but a year later.
That's the one I saw.
Yeah, and there were some spectacular tracks in that one too. And both of them, there was an interesting anomaly where there were big, fresh bear prints going through the area where the Sasquatch are leaving all the tracks. And both times, what appeared to be the tracks of an alpha male started following the bear. So apparently they weren't down with the bear being in the area. They were either scooting them out or they were getting a free meal off them, one or the other.
They're in an area where the bears are huge. British Columbia has some.
Well, this is Alaska we're talking about. The bears are gigantic up there. Yeah, so are the Sasquatch.
Yeah, the further north you get, for some reason, the mammals get bigger and more aggressive.
There's an actual natural law for that. I can't think of what the name of it is. Sasquatch cites it all the time. But yeah, the animals actually get bigger as you go further north because of conservation of heat. Have more mass, keeps you warmer, less likely to freeze solid during really cold snaps in the winter. So, and by necessity, if Bigfoot has to compete with these animals or be in an area where they're around, they have to be large enough to do it. So that tends to eliminate the little scrubs. They're all living down in, Louisiana, where you can be 8 feet and you're the biggest thing around.
And then the other one was in the redwoods of California. I zoomed in on a Bigfoot shape that was probably 300-400 yards away in the trees. I'm like, that looks like a Bigfoot. And I zoomed in and held the camera, and I'm looking through this tiny
Uh-huh.
viewfinder with, and these viewfinders, man, if you go out and use these cameras, there's a lot of glare and stuff.
Uh-huh.
So you like have to have some type of skill just to get it in the frame of the camera and hold the camera still from that far away and zoom in. And I got home and started checking it out, and I'm like, yep, it's changing facial expressions. It's even moving its head a little bit like this and that as it's changing facial expressions. But at the time, it held so still that I'm like, oh, it's just got to be an illusion of lights. Um, so far away. But yeah, I zoom in on that camera and then I get it on a big screen, and yeah, the proof's in the pudding. So that's twice that I've captured a Bigfoot on camera that the only thing you can see really moving is its head a little bit and its
Rocky Mountain
face.
Sasquatch Organization, Kelly Shaw. We're in Northern California in a Bigfoot sighting hotspot. We're checking up on a couple of Bigfoot sightings in the area. I was going over some footage for a Bigfoot sighting report we were doing near the location. And in the sighting report video, something that I zoomed in on of interest, I thought I saw a cone-shaped head back there, but it was a couple of 100 yards. And instead of grabbing binoculars or whatever, I just zoom in with the camera. The viewfinder on these cameras is kind of small, and a lot of times there's glare. I mean, you can see enough that you can zoom in, clear out there on the spot you want. And I do that, and I hold it for a minute or two and try and watch the object with my own eyes while I keep it in the viewfinder. When I get home and review the footage, I can put it up on a big monitor, and I don't have that glare. I'm seeing what the camera is actually picking up. I'm not looking through that little viewfinder, and once in a great while, I'm like, wow, there was some eye shine, or oh my gosh, look at this. It looks like its face is changing expression and moving a little bit, and right where you would expect the face to be, it is. And even at one point, I can see its left thigh. Let's check out that footage. Here's the raw footage. I'll put the sighting report video that I was making in this area when I spotted the footage in the description of this video. I'll put a link to it so you can see the first time I saw it. This is the raw footage here, and then I'm going to do some stabilization, and I'll do some screenshots where I zoom in so that we can check out the face and see if it's changing expression or moving around. The body, what you would expect it to be the body area, really holds still, and at one point you can see its left thigh on the right side between these two giant trees. These trees are just massive. Northern California, the closer you get to the coast, the bigger and bigger the trees get. And mind you, there's several dozen Bigfoot sightings in this area, and Northern California is the second most Bigfoot sighting hotspot on the planet. And here's this stabilized. The body and thigh area seemed to shift a little bit, but not enough to really say for sure. So I did these zoom ins so that we can watch the face, see if the face moves or changes expression. This is 200 yards away that we zoomed in, and then we've magnified it even further with the computer. And coming up, I'm going to magnify it more. I don't like magnifying this much because it starts getting pixelated. But it was pretty clear before, but I'm zooming in even further, even though it's pixelated, just to see if we can see face expressions changing. I mean, I'm talking about face expressions changing because there's points where you can clearly see the two eyes, the nose, the eyebrow ridge, the mouth. I mean, I can see the left shoulder right there. Yeah, this is pretty freaky. I zoomed in on it because I thought it was a Bigfoot shape between those two trees, but it was so far away that, you know, I couldn't see it clearly with my own eyes, and now with zooming it in with the computer and getting a little bit of magnification, it's really Bigfooty looking shaped. I'll run the raw footage, the stabilized, and the zoomed in screenshots again, and I'll be quiet so that you guys can hear the background of the video.
If you get them on camera at all, it's amazing, man. They hide really well. They're going to always hide really well. And until you get to the point where you're observant enough to go, hey, that black blob looks too black. There's nothing there to make that shadow. Time to zoom into the camera.
I know a lot of people don't think black's a good camo, but it's
Oh,
excellent
God. Oh, yeah.
um, because black melts away into the shadows, and even if there isn't a shadow there, your mind's thinking it is a shadow. It's like, oh, that's just the shadows. And even in the wintertime, when you're driving up in the mountains with the snow, you think that something black's going to stand out like a sore thumb or brown. Oh no, there's just so many spots of black and white that even black still blends in the wintertime.
Yeah. Well, and there's the opposite too. The one that I was just talking about that the really observant viewer caught was white. And this is during the spring. Everything's green. You would think white would stand out like a frickin' sore thumb and it'd be easy as hell to see him, but you don't even notice him until he moves.
Hmm. Yeah, white's also a different part of the shadows, the light part of the shadows. So
Yeah. They're just they are so good at hiding. It's amazing. So yeah, my hat's off to anybody that can get a picture or a piece of video of them. That takes some skill.
yeah,
You got to notice them in order to get the camera on them. you
I,
know.
I think their hair has some type of a specialty of refracting light too. I mean, I know like a polar bear's hair specializes in attracting light to its skin. Those
Hmm.
shafted have hair, and then also they're hollow, so that it helps make the polar bear buoyant. So animals' hair adapts to the situations they need, and I think a Bigfoot's hair is perfectly adept to camouflage. It's the right colors, refracts the right amount of light, and I'd like to use an example that Russian Bigfoot, where they got a long string of photos, and there's an argument whether it got wounded in the back of the head or it has a red hair tie. I think the Bigfoot got wounded. It wasn't on top of its game, is why people were able to flush it up and that guy was able to get that string of photographs. But those are high resolution photographs. They are nice. But the Bigfoot, even though it fills the whole frame of the camera, it's kind of hard to pick out. It's like the lights reflecting
Yeah.
its environment, and it just blends in so well.
And this
Just
is the
amazing.
winter where you've got plenty of snow reflecting all the light onto the Bigfoot. Should make it really obvious, still not obvious.
It just melts into the shadows. It's amazing. So I think Bigfoot hair has its own characteristics that helps the creature. I mean, I know a lot of people are like, oh, it can cloak and stuff like that. I don't believe it unless I see it or evidence, but I just think it has specialized hair that reflects light, and people mistake that for a cloaking ability. I don't know. Maybe Bigfoot is a
Well,
Klingon.
that has a lot to do with their blending ability. It's the hair thing for sure, because the hair will tend to pick up the color of whatever it's next to, is provided with sufficient light.
Yeah,
And I've done
exactly.
that with tests from other researchers over and over and over again, where they got a hair sample and I went, "Have you ever tried this?" And they're like, "No." And a couple times they actually tried it while I was on the phone with them, where they take their piece of hair and they hold up one little piece of hair next to any color object, solid color, and watch what happens to the hair. It just disappears. It takes on the color of the object.
Well, I would like to show this hair one more time, and I'm going to leave it over the bag so none fall on the table. It's kind of nasty. But this hair, when we collected it on the ground, it blended in really well, but the hair looked bluish gray.
Hmm.
But when you get the hair collected together, it looks black. But um, when you go through it, there's every color of the rainbow. There is whites, there's grays, there's blacks, there's reds, yellows, all through this. And so this just blends in with any type of environment, in my opinion.
Yeah. And that's been brought up before a lot by other researchers that have gotten good looks at them on a regular basis. The brindle thing. Well, it's not actually one solid color. If you're close enough, you can see it's got a whole bunch of other little hairs that are other colors and stuff. And it's been described as kind of a brindle look. And, that could be another one of the things that they can use to their advantage. But we've gotten some really strange video before. You may have seen the picture that we've got of something actually bending the light around it. That was up at Coloma. You can see it's a humanoid-shaped object. It's sticking its arm out toward the camera person, and it's bending the friggin' light around it. Okay, that's really bizarre. There's an actual Bigfoot in the background sticking his head around a tree.
We
So
got
if
the same thing.
cloaking object is not a Bigfoot, why is there an actual Bigfoot following it? Because we got his head poking around a tree in the same picture.
We got the same thing in Deadwood, Idaho, inside the ghost town. We heard what we thought was other hikers down below us on the mountain, and I zoomed the camera down in on them. And then I also checked out the parking area by the ghost town, and no vehicles but ours, where we started our hike down on the mountain. But I zoomed in on the noise and everything and didn't see anything. And then when I put out the expedition video, someone's like, "Hey man, there's a humanoid right there." And so I did a breakdown video of it and everything, but it reminded me of the Predator. I mean, you see the humanoid shape, and it's like refracting all the colors
All the
around
colors around it.
and it's moving and stuff. And we heard vocalizations down there and just wanted to blame it on other people. But that whole day that we hiked up and back, we never saw another soul. And and we wrote that off until we got home. Another viewer saw it, and then when I zoomed in on it, I'm like, what the heck is that? That's like the Predator, man.
Uh-huh.
Taking a closer look at the last video that we posted, Deadwood Gold Mine searching for Bigfoot. A guy, Justin, commented a couple of days ago about some movement that he saw in the video, and I was quite surprised when I followed up on it today, so I decided to make a video. Deadwood is one of our favorite places to search for Bigfoot. It's on the edge of the River of No Return wilderness, and there was 3 Bigfoot sightings in 24 hours by 5 witnesses on a logging crew that was camping out at this ghost town. It's been a ghost town since World War II. It's an old mining ghost town. Since World War II, this logging crew was using the ghost town as a base camp for their operations. They were camping in and around this ghost town, and some of the logging crew thought this house that we're in front of right now, they were going to clean it up and stay in it. And they removed a nest out of the basement, the boiler room of this place that just stunk. Kind of reminds me of a gorilla nest. And after that, their Bigfoot problems started. Now, we're not going to talk about that. I'll leave a link to the Bigfoot sighting report in this video, and I'll also leave a link to the section of the video we're breaking down. It's the 17-minute mark, and I would like to talk about a few things that we saw on this particular expedition when we were inside the ghost house before the sun went down earlier in the day. A woman pointed out a Bigfoot outside the window looking in at us, and I'll leave a screenshot of that right here. Her screenshot, she captures the timestamp of where we captured it. It was just a fleeting glimpse. I took a closer look at it, and I'm like, yes, that does look Bigfoot shaped. So we've captured on several expeditions some weird things here, looking around during the day and the night. We've hiked to this cabin both day and night because, Bigfoot's supposed to be active at night. One of the Bigfoot sightings that happened during that logging camp operation was at 4 a.m. in the morning, and that guy actually quit. He'd been with the logging crew 12 years. 2 of the 5 guys quit, so it was pretty compelling. Brought us out here, and it's turned into one of our favorite places, plus the River of No Return, all the surrounding areas. There's a lot of Bigfoot sightings around here, so it keeps bringing us back. Okay, I noticed when I started putting together the video that these pictures that we took of this old abandoned cabin nearby, it looked like a Bigfoot standing in the woods staring at us at the tree line. And I'm like, oh, that can't possibly be a Bigfoot. I would have saw it with my own eyes, but supposedly the master of camouflage. I zoomed in on it, and I couldn't eliminate a trick of shadows and light but I'm going to put it in anyway. It was quite interesting. And then after that, I will get to the video movement that we captured later on. Unfortunately, I wasn't filming right here. I took some pictures of this and then later on saw this, and I really didn't take it seriously, just thought it was a trick of lights and shadows. And then at the 17 mark on the video that we're doing a breakdown of, that a guy pointed out on live video, saw movement, humanoid shape, very camouflaged. And so I went back to this saying, you know, was there really a Bigfoot in the area? And then I caught it later on live video. I don't know, this could be light and shadow trick, but it does have the head shape of a Bigfoot, so who knows. And I would really like to get to the nitty gritty, the breakdown of what this guy pointed out to us. Appreciate you pointing it out to us. I don't know why I didn't see it in editing. When I edit a video together, I'll watch it 5, maybe 8 times sometimes when I'm putting them together, and I missed it. But after he pointed it out and I went to the 17-minute mark, I'm like, what the heck is that moving? And when I bring up the video, you guys will see it looks like maybe somebody in a ghillie suit, except for they have the natural vegetation stuffed in it, you know, something like out of Vietnam, except for they got aspens and stuff. Just really weird. I'm not into the cloaking thing. Don't believe in cloaking, don't believe in that technology, don't believe creatures can do that. But this thing was well camouflaged, and I've watched it several times, and it looks almost humanoid shape walking off. I went back and looked at the original footage hoping that, you know, maybe I cut the video short and I would have more of it, but unfortunately alls I have is what I'm about ready to lay in front of you. Not saying it was Bigfoot, it's just something of interest. Weird things have happened here in the past to us and obviously other people, so I'm going to show it and you guys can make up your minds for yourself. Gonna start from kind of the beginning. We're up here at Deadwood checking out the ghost town, the mine, and all that. And this is all 4 of us. I'm filming. There's Derek, there's Brody, there's Jenny. And we didn't see another person the entire time we were here, or another vehicle. And then I end up walking out in front of these guys, and I zoom in down by the ghost house and stuff, just checking things out. We were hearing some weird vocalizations, don't know what they were, and that's what brought my attention towards the ghost house again. And I just step up and I zoom in, and then someone pointed out movement down here. I don't know if you guys see that move, so I'm going to keep playing it back, and I'll even slow it down a couple of times, and then I'm going to circle it so you guys can see where to watch, and I'll play it through again. You know, I'll play it at normal speed, half speed. Here it starts again. And if you notice, there's no wind in the trees, and all of a sudden this patch down there begins to move. And I see arms and legs and just humanoid shaped. Just totally weird.
That's exactly like the one I was describing that viewer found in my video. Because you can't see him at all until he moves, and then you can see the shape, and then he stops moving, and he just blends right back in again.
Yeah, that might be their hairs being specialized.
It could be. But we've seen this. We've actually got somebody that's got a video of them doing it now. They've got one standing stationary across a river from on the shoreline, and he's blackish brown. And they got the camera on him, and while they've got the camera on him, he just fades away. And if you're watching closely, you can see he doesn't move. The outline of him is still there. He just completely changed colors, so he looks like the color.
could just reflect, and this may be what it's doing. If it can refract the colors and textures around it, I mean, that would give it the ability to look like it's cloaking, even though
Yeah.
it's just hair reflecting the same light that's around it.
Well, the theory from the science slash woo woo crowd on that one right now is that they can raise their vibrational level, and when they go up to a certain level, they just blend right in. And if they go
Yeah.
beyond that, they actually bend the light around them. And if they're bending the light and they move, they're really obvious, because then you get that predator field of it's still trying to cloak, but there's something moving. So they don't do that. They'll stand in one place generally.
And they
We
know
caught this one screwing up and got him on video doing it.
and they know this. That's why they hold perfectly still unless
Yep.
they know they've been spotted and feel threatened. And then
Well,
that's
the other
when they
thing
move
is they
to
have
cover.
observational skills, since they're so close to us, very similar to us. And the word pareidolia, there's a good reason for that, because we see faces in the clouds, we see faces in the sand. Our brains try to make faces out of everything. They have the same thing, and they realize if we see their face, we'll cue right in on it. So they try to break up the outline of their face. We got lots of pictures of them standing behind a branch or something where there's like the branch is actually level with where their eyes are, or part of the branch is going across their face, blocking part of their face. So they figure as long as you can't see their whole face, you don't know that they're there. We got a picture of a juvenile up in a tree. There was another one behind it that reached its hand around and was covering up this part of its face, thinking that it had the whole face covered. The eyes were still visible. That's what I noticed.
Well, I
You can see the
learned
hand on its face too.
I learned at a young age from my uncles and parents and stuff, deer hunting, that if you're sneaking up on a deer and it looks at you, you hold perfectly still and you don't even blink, because that's what the deer's looking for,
Yep.
is blinking eyes. And so these Bigfoot may think if they shield their eyes,
You can't see them.
it improves their camo ability.
Absolutely. And we've caught, I caught a whole group of them right behind me watching me. I got that eerie feeling there's something behind you watching you. And since I was already filming, I just nonchalantly did a 180. That
Uh-huh.
spot looks weird. Zoomed in on it for a couple seconds. Got the teeny screen like you were just talking about. Can't see what the hell I'm filming. Zoom back out again. Cut the clip. And I go back
Was that
and
the
look
one
at
that
it.
was? Is that the one that I liked, where it looks to me like a Bigfoot standing with its knuckles or hands on the ground in a almost like an ape-like profile watching you? Was that the one?
Oh, you might be talking about the video that Ashton got at Coloma this year. He's standing right on the edge of the camp watching us. I'm still in the tent 30 feet away from him.
That's one of the most impressive captures I've seen on your channel in some time. That was really neat. I liked that one.
Yeah, especially it's like 10 o'clock in the morning. I'm not even awake yet. I'm still sleeping in my tent, and he's right there watching us. And Ashton doesn't even notice him. Brings the camera right across him. Just does a, 360 actually around camp. Filmed that. Caught him by accident, right there. But yeah, the shit. No, I forgot what I was talking about. You sidetracked me, Kelly. Damn it. No, the cloaking and blending thing. Yeah, again, they seem to be able to do that, and more people are starting to catch them on video doing this stuff. And in situations where you can be like about 90% certain that what you're dealing with are in fact Bigfoot, because you've got no evidence of other cryptids in the area. And maybe, in my area has been up there for years, never seen anything else other than Bigfoot. And so and in the situational that you're dealing with, like the one that the viewer caught that was apparently blending and shifting position at the same time, so you noticed them on camera. And those clips from that, for about the 10 minutes that we were up there, 3 of us were filming, and every single one of us got them on camera. We were frickin' surrounded. There was a whole bunch of them up there. So at the point where you catch something in the background in this situation, we already know there's a ton of Bigfoot up here. We got them on camera, and here's something that's blending and moving at the same time. Chances are really good that's also a Bigfoot. It's not some other thing. See, that's why we keep leaning toward some of them at least have paranormal abilities. And now that I'm in touch with Robin McCrae and work with her all the time, and she's an actual Bigfoot psychic, she can actually mind speak with them. And who's the best source for information? Well, the Bigfoot. if you can get them to answer your question, which not all the time. Sometimes they don't want to give away their trade secrets. And we pressed them several times on how do you do the cloaking and blending thing. And they tell us the same thing every time. They bend light. Well, thanks, Captain Obvious. We kind of figured that out. How are you doing it? Well, they won't tell us that part.
It's their hair. I'm blaming it on the hair.
Well, it is. It has a lot to do with their hair. And what we've been able to figure out is it's the combination of the hair and their ability to change their vibrational rate, basically.
I also think that their hair changes colors and tones during different times of the year. And of course, the older they get, they also gray and white. So, some people, like you mentioned it, will see a gray or a whitish Bigfoot year round. And I think, when they get to a certain age, their summer colors don't come back. They're kind of like my beard, just stays gray.
Well, that absolutely is happening because there's people that have spent, lifetimes of these things visiting their properties and stuff, and they've literally watched them grow up, or they've watched them be full-grown adults and start turning gray and white and getting older and stuff like that. So absolutely that's going on. But the other thing is there are ones that are white, because there's been people that have observed little bitty juveniles that are white. So yeah, they come in all colors, and it doesn't seem, from what I've been able to see and get on camera and other people I've talked to, they see white ones during the summer, they see black ones in the winter. I don't think if there is a variation in their hair, it could be just that it gets thicker longer during the winter, just for more protection from the elements.
The two that I saw with my own eyes, not ones that I've captured on camera and saw later, but actually Class A, there's no question in my mind what I'm looking at. The one at the top of Indian Canyon in 2018, the one halfway up the mountain of Monte Cristo just in September 2020. September is a good month for me. Both of them were either dark brown or black. The huge one on Indian Canyon was over 9 feet tall, maybe 10 feet tall. This one thing was huge. That one was very dark brown or even black. And then the one that I just saw in 2021, that one was dark brown. It wasn't quite as dark as the big one. And this one was huge. This one was maybe 7.5 feet tall, and it was a lot more slender than the one I saw on Indian Canyon. But the one on Indian Canyon was a giant. That one was scary big.
Isn't that the one where you you came back and you had Derek out there trying to spot the position while you guys were calling out location from where you were at with the camera going, I think it's further this way, go over here. Now I can't see you at all anymore.
That was the Lost Creek one. That's not one that I actually knew without a doubt it was a Bigfoot. I just zoomed in on a Bigfoot shaped creature in the trees across the canyon, and it didn't move a muscle while I was zoomed in. And it was actually not a canyon, but across the draw. And I'm watching it in the viewfinder, and it didn't move at all. And so I just dismissed it. And that's the one that we got home, and looked like Bigfoot, changing facial features and stuff. Yeah, that was the Lost Creek one. And we tried putting Derek and Mike in the same location it was in, and we just weren't able to recreate what was standing there, obviously, because it wasn't there anymore.
And it was freaking gigantic. So yeah, that was another.
That was a huge one too. That one was probably a 9-10 footer. I agree.
Yeah, it was a big boy. I got to see one myself this year, and like we were, like you say, you rarely get to see them move. And I was sitting in camp, and I was looking across this glade down below it. And on the far side of the glade, there's a hillside comes up again. And long ago, somebody had made a logging road around the edge of it. So it was just inside the wood line. You can still see the bed of the road nice and clear. And here comes this Bigfoot about 9 foot tall. And he's kind of a light tannish brown color. And he's just whipping ass through there. I mean, he had to be going minimum 35, 40 miles an hour. Head didn't bounce up and down at all. Didn't make a sound. It was one of the fastest damn things I've ever seen outside of a motorized vehicle. And that was just very impressive. Once you actually see how fast they can move, it's like, Yeah, not only are they super awesome at hiding and blending, but they can shift position ridiculously fast, and they pretty much don't have to make any noise to do it either.
Yeah, that one that I saw in my rear view mirror, it bolted like an Olympic sprinter, just boom, out of the frame of my rear view mirror and my back window, and immediately into the trees. And I never did see it again after that. But um, so I only got to see it move maybe like 10 feet, but it was like now, boom. It
Just gone.
A lot of times when someone gets ready to run or do something, they kind of like do a pose or whatever, and then do it. But this thing, whenever it decided in its mind it wanted to go, I mean, its whole body just boom.
Yeah, and that gives
So
you another sense of appreciation for what their capabilities are, because they're not only huge, ridiculously strong, and incredibly stealthy, but it can also move at lightning speed. We are so outclassed by these guys, and people keep going, "Why didn't you get a picture of it?"
I just did a breakdown of Bigfoot that we captured on video at the base of Mount Adams on the Mount St. Helens side. As a matter of fact, if you get into some good clearings, you can see both volcanoes if you're in the right clearings and stuff on this mountain. But the Bigfoot sighting we were investigating was this lady that seen it. Well, she heard it move behind her. It like ran across the trail behind her, and she turned and looked and saw it up on an embankment, and it did the freezing thing. Even though it was out in the open in between two trees and had no cover between it and the lady, it just froze staring at her. And then as soon as she went to move her head away, it boom, and that's what she described, lightning quick. Well, we went in there investigating, and right away we heard wood knocks, weird smells, started finding tracks, started finding wood knockers stuck in the ground at uh, places where there was footprints, and where up on knolls in the forest where it's got a good lookout position and stuff. We're finding wood knockers smashed into the ground, and then down by the creek is where we found the best track, about 5 feet away from the creek, but the track sunk in deep enough that it filled with water. It was just amazing. But I put out the expedition video, and people were like, "Hey, there's a Bigfoot right here." This big burly trucker, I mean, not trucker, but biker guy, he got a hold of me, and he's like, "Have you seen this frame?" And, I'm like, "What time stamp?" And I started looking, and I'm like, "Hey, that thing is moving." But that was a creepy looking Bigfoot watching us during our introduction of the video. And we had Bigfoot action all day, so I had to take that seriously. But what it comes down to, what got us in the area, is a Bigfoot sighting where the lady described when it moved
During a
lightning
Washington
quick.
Bigfoot expedition to investigate several Sasquatch sightings reported to us at R.M.S.O, we did a hike at a sighting location between two volcanoes, Mount St. Helens and Mount Adams. We were near the base of Mount Adams, with St. Helens viewed from our northwest. During our hike, we heard a few wood knocks and a couple of whoops, and found some amazing Bigfoot trackways. One set had 18-inch long tracks, the other had 15-inch long tracks. And one of the trackways was fresh and definitive because it sunk in over 2 inches near a small creek water source. Watch to the end of the video and we will show off these amazing tracks. We posted a video called "On the Hills of Mount Adams Sasquatch," detailing our hike and findings. Recently, a gentleman named Kelvin messaged us with the creepy screenshot from near the beginning of the video, showing a strange figure that appears to be watching us from the cover of the trees. Even though it has many Bigfoot-like features, I may have dismissed it as an illusion of light and shadow. However, because of the fresh Bigfoot tracks we found that day, and the knocks and vocalizations, I wanted to take a look at it seriously and take a close look of the creepy Bigfoot-like subject. Kelvin saw the Bigfoot-like creature back in the forest out in front of me during my prologue or introduction of the sighting investigation. I'll zoom in on that section and play it again for you. The subject only appears for 2 to 3 seconds. This is the area you will want to watch for as I play the introduction zoomed in from our video, "On the Hills of Mount Adams Sasquatch." We're in the shadow of Mount Adams, looking at some Bigfoot sighting locations. We've been sent some pretty compelling reports in the area, not to mention there's just a ton of them on other websites. In case you missed it, I will slow it and stabilize the section it appears and play it forward and reverse twice. Here's the screenshot of the creature again, and here is the top of its head, and here is what appears to be the nose. This looks like it's the brow line, and these seem to be the eye socket location, so to speak. This looks like the hairline right around the face. Just so cool. Not saying it is Bigfoot. However, we were investigating a string of Bigfoot sightings and we were hearing Woodnock's vocalizations and finding Bigfoot tracks that were fresh. Watch the rest of the video. Each Bigfoot track documented gets more and more amazing. I believe we were in the forest with 2 or more Bigfoot this day. Find a footprint.
Looks like it stepped right between the 2 trees.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're having a hard time even making, we can't make an imprint in this ground. Here's the top of it right here. And it goes back through here. And it looks like 18
That's the toe section.
by about 8, 7.5, 8.
It's the right dimensions. I want to look down below where it would be coming from.
I got a good one I just noticed the other day. Jason Kenzie, Searching for Sasquatch series of documentary videos that he's doing. He did one in Michigan. Robin McRae was in it. And at the beginning of it, he's kind of sitting out in the woods and he's doing his little, intro thing, blah, blah, blah. We're here in Michigan. We're going to do this and that and the other thing. And I call Robin up and I go, Robin, did you watch the beginning of this video? And I go, yeah. And I said, is that a Bigfoot peeking its head up over that stump behind him, watching him while he's doing his monologue at the beginning? And she goes, yeah, there's another one further back, too. I went, okay. It's like he had no idea. And he probably still doesn't. He's never pointed it out or anything. It's like, Jason, you had one right there on camera, photobombing you while you were doing your intro to the video.
Well, something that we've learned after serious 12 years of Bigfoot investigating, I mean, it's been a hobby for me almost my whole life, but the last 12 years has been very serious. When we're up hiking in a Bigfoot hotspot, they tend to vocalize and would knock more when you're having casual conversations between you. And I think the reason is because they know that your brain, your mind, your eyes, your ears are preoccupied with that conversation, and now they can conversate between each other and you're less likely to notice. So that they do their wood knock to like, hey, they're going over here. They do the vocalization and it's like, oh, they're coming up the draw, and that's when they're most likely to do it. So when people are watching our investigation videos, we're trying to act like the casual, everyday, non-threatening hiker, and we get more action that way than trying to belly crawl in like a hunter and being quiet. And people will sit and bellyache and complain, "You're being too noisy, blah 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 blah." It's like, well, if you had any experience or you actually paid attention to people's Bigfoot videos, that's when they're most likely to vocalize and would knock.
Yeah. We actually do talk to each other. Well, it depends on the situation. Sometimes we just go silent and we're like signaling each other, staying within visual distance. But most of the time we'll actually talk and stuff. But our rule of thumb is just talk quietly.
Yeah.
Because if they decide to do their little trick of making noise in the background while we're talking, we're going to get it on audio. And yeah, they do that.
We do shut our mouths when they start vocalizing to catch them, and so we can get those recordings, and we do catch a lot of them.
You guys do great. What was your favorite track this year? You usually find some pretty spectacular ones. Did you have a favorite track or track line that you discovered this year?
My favorite track's the one that we got in between Mount Adams and Mount St. Helens. The one that
the one in the water.
Yeah, the one that formed a yeah, is just amazing. And we had found a lot of tracks leading up to that. And, everybody thinks that's not experienced thinks these tracks should just stick out like a sore thumb and should be all over the place, and people bellyache, why was there only one? It's like, it's the only one that you could see on camera. I mean, we followed a trackway of them to them, and finally they stepped in a substrate that really accepted it, the soft bank of the creek. And it actually really wasn't that soft. I couldn't sink in. This thing probably leaped from the embankment across the creek and come down with its 800 pounds and sunk in. And then in front of that, you can see where it stepped again and busted a log in half, or a sapling log. I mean, it was probably this about 8 inches in diameter that it snapped its next step. But yeah, that was just amazing. And it gives justification. We're tracking, we know it's Bigfoot. You can barely see it in the hard substrate with all the organic matter. We're measuring it and everything, and you just know the people back home that are unexperienced are like, oh yeah right, yeah right. And then we finally come up to the money shot, the deep one, the toes, the everything. This was an inch and a half, 2 inches deep. I think it was 2.5 inches deep at the deepest part, and it was deep enough it went into the water table and kind of filled up with water, which made it stand out. So yeah, that's amazing. And it's nice to, I don't look to the camera and say, told you so. All the tracks leading up to this one were real.
Yeah.
We finally have the one that there's nobody can dispute the fact that it's a Bigfoot track. And it takes an 800-pound person to sink in that deep, jumping 15 feet. So no way none of us could have made that.
Well, I know, and we find a really obvious one. We film the hell out of it because it's so rare. And there's a lot of them where we can see them clearly, but if you try and get them on camera, you can't see doodly with a camera. And we've just gotten to the point where it's like, man, I'm just going to drop a tape measure on it, because the actual trackers in the audience will take one look at it and go, that's a track. And the other people that can't tell the difference, well, sorry, you're not a very good tracker.
Well, and one thing I like about the standing water thing too is when the water's crystal clear, when you find it on the edge of a creek, a lake, a river, and the water's crystal clear, I mean, it takes a long time for the sediment to settle down, hours and hours. So it also shows that, this was not staged. I mean, it had time for the water to settle and become crystal clear.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, actually, if you come on a track in the water like that and there's still like muddy sediment floating around in the bottom of it, that Bigfoot was just there very recently.
Yeah, and then that's unnerving in itself.
Very
right there. Yeah, the Jenny and I spent a couple of days finding the Paul Freeman video location, and we hiked in both locations. We hiked where he said it happened. And of course, he's said it's happened in a couple of places because he didn't want people to know exactly where he filmed that Bigfoot, and I don't blame him. But the location that his fishing buddies said it happened in, because they don't care about giving up the location. They're not trying to protect anything. That's what I really believe. But both areas are generally in the same area. Well, we went hiking in to where his fishing buddies said it happened, and Jenny and I is in there hiking around, and we find a bear track, and it's got a giant 12-inch rear foot, and we find a place where it stepped in the creek and stepped on the other side, and it was still wet. So it tells you it just did it, and that freaked us out. And I'm like, it's time to leave. This is a giant black bear or an average grizzly. And it's right here. Let's just leave. So instead of taking the way out that we come in, that's more of a animal trail and everything, we just took a shortcut back in the direction of the vehicle. So we were going off trail, and that's where we found these two giant 17-inch by 8-inch wide Bigfoot tracks. I mean, we found more than that, but these ones that were just deep and shown like a sore thumb on camera and everything at the Paul Freeman video location. So that was pretty exciting.
Nice. That's sweet. What was your favorite adventure that happened this year?
Let me think. Gosh, it's such a blur. The seasons
Well, let
and
me
the
give you a
years.
minute then. I'll
All
fill
right.
up some time here by bringing up something
Okay.
that we brought up on the last show. And actually, let me go back one before that. You were talking about Skinwalker Ranch earlier.
Uh-huh.
The Haunted Horse Ranch in Florida. We turned out an episode on that on Christmas Eve, and it's updates with researcher actually been up here doing Bigfoot research with me at the twice abandoned ghost town of Coloma. She has a nice haunted horse ranch down in Florida, and she's got orbs, and she's got portals, and she's got apparitions, and she's got video of open portal with some Bigfoot-like creatures standing next to it, and she's got UFOs, and she's got EVP. This stuff has been going on for years, and about once a year she gets a hold of me and goes, "Hey, can you look at this weird video?" And she'll send it to me, and I'll just be terrified and go, "Okay, it's time to have you on the show again." And she's like not a researcher or anything. She just owns this horse ranch and wants all of it to stop. She wants nothing to do with it, but it's constantly going on. So she has Bigfoot research teams and paranormal research teams and ghost research teams, and all kinds of people have showed up on her property and checked out all this stuff and freaked the hell out. So Skinwalker Ranch ain't the only game in town, and you don't have to be on the West Coast for this stuff to be going. As a matter of fact, she knows. I put her in touch with one of them, and she found the other one. Two other people that own ranches within about 40 miles of her that have equally really incredibly bizarre stuff going on, and they got video and pictures to prove it too. So that kind of stuff is going on. And then getting back to the video from this Sunday, where it was the best and worst and creamy nougat-filled middle of 2022. We talked about that we're going to be doing Bigfoot awards every
Uh-huh.
year now, and some people that got mentions for retroactive, including you. So actually, for the year that the Provo video happened, you win Researcher of the Year for that one. It's retroactive, but congratulations, you're getting a Biggie award.
I don't think I could do that again. Climb to the top of that mountain covered in snow like I did that year.
I don't
Yeah,
recommend that you
that
ever
was
do
rough.
that again, even if you were 20 years younger and in great shape. That was like crazy dangerous, but that's why
Well,
you win the award.
yeah, Derek got up that mountain a couple hundred yards and he's afraid of heights. And he's like, dude, I just keep thinking I'm going to slide and keep sliding and go off a cliff or whatever. And I'm like, that's cool. I was like, I need somebody down on the ground at the filming location to get me in the right spot anyway. So he stayed down there. And every once in a while, I'd come out in the clearing of trees and I'd call him and I'm like, where do I need to go? And, he's like, you're about 300 yards to the northeast of it or whatever, but we got me into the spot and was able to do a size comparison. And I don't think people realize how tough it was to get in a location to do that on top of a mountain. These people probably filmed that Bigfoot from close to a mile away and zoomed in on their cell phone. And Derek got me within a couple of feet of that thing with his cell phone, a different cell phone, and we don't know how far they were zoomed in or not, but I think between him and I, we did an excellent job getting us within a couple of feet. And we realized once we did the size comparison that thing just towered over me. In my opinion, it was at least an 8-footer.
Hmm.
And not only was it 8 feet tall, we figured out what it was doing. It took a 300-pound square slab of stone that was in the ground, in the frozen ground in the wintertime, and ripped that out. And the first thing that I was looking for and sat it aside, I don't know what it wanted under that stone, a squirrel or a grub or whatever. But I immediately started looking for shovel marks, anything that someone could have used as leverage to get it up. And I started realizing, no, that thing pulled that out of the frozen ground with its fingers and hands. I mean, had
Yeah, and
to
why would
take
anybody do a super dangerous climb to the top of an icy mountain carrying a shovel so they could pry a 300-pound rock out of the ground?
Yeah, it doesn't make
No.
sense. And then I realized how dangerous it was to go up there. I mean, if I started sliding in the wrong direction, there's all different types of cliffs. As a matter of fact, the guy and his friends that filmed that, they hiked up there to try and do a size comparison, and they couldn't get to the spots. And the reason is they kept coming up to a cliff face. Well, Derek and I spent a couple of hours at the bottom of the mountain going north and south of that, looking for the best way up, and we kind of mapped a way up that got me around those cliffs. So the people that filmed it never got to the location. They gave up for whatever. They're like, oh, it's good. But I
Somebody
actually
else
went
claimed that
around
they-
those cliffs to get to it. So if I would have slipped, I could have very well went off of those that
Right.
stopped them guys from getting up there.
And then there was some troll that claimed that they got up there and there wasn't any tracks or anything. They couldn't find the evidence. And when you got up there, you found his tracks. He didn't come far enough down the hill to find the Bigfoot tracks that you found as soon as you got up there. And that's two of the points here. First of all, is that this is just a random encounter. Kelly didn't know these people or anything. Within 24 hours, they're there. They figured out exactly where it is. They're right there on the spot. And he's trying to do this dangerous ass climb up to the top of this freaking mountain, up these icy, cliffs that only Everest mountaineers with equipment should be on. And Kelly's up there with like his tennis shoes going, oh, I can climb it up. I'll take a stop here and film some of this super dangerous scenery so you can see how incredibly I'm risking my life to get up here. And
I was
sure
wearing
enough,
some very nice boots.
yeah, you can go back and look at those in the video.
still
We
was rough.
excruciatingly detailed this in his first visit to the show last year. So
I really needed some crampons for
yeah,
that.
no kidding, and an ice axe, and some rope, and some carabiners.
The
And
Bigfoot tracks inside the oak brush and the trees that I found and filmed and took pictures of, those were really nice. A little bit snow swept, but really nice. The ones where the Bigfoot was actually filmed out in the clearing, the sun had gotten to those, even though it happened like the day before, but the sun had distorted those a little bit, and a herd of deer had walked through them and everything. And as a matter of fact, Meldrum got a hold of me asking about those tracks and everything, and that's what I just told him. I was just like, the ones in the trees were really nice. The ones where the creature was at were dilapidated by the sun. So
yeah.
I more or less was going off the ones in the trees before it came out into the opening, because those hadn't had any sun damage to them.
Perfect example of being Johnny on the spot, though. Within 24 hours, you guys figured out where that was. You were right there trying to climb up, look for tracks, get a size comparison, get her done. And you got there right away. You not only managed to find the tracks and everything from where it was and get into the right position, but you got there soon enough that you could actually see the damn things. They weren't buried with snow. They weren't completely melted. As soon as you got up to the top of the rise on that thing, there's a Bigfoot track going down the direction you're walking up. You got your foot right next to him as you're mountaineering up going, well, this looks like a track.
Yeah, well, just between you and I and the viewers, I called in sick to work that day because I just don't know what it is. But when there's a Bigfoot seen and filmed locally, it just makes me sick, and I can't make it to work. But I somehow climbed to the top of a mountain, and
So, even more amazing, sick as he was, he still managed to climb to the top of that damn icy mountain and get video.
That's the only thing that was going to make me feel better. And it did. I felt much better, and I went back to work the next day. Got it out of my system.
And again, that's why Kelly won the Biggie Award. And if you want to see all the breakdown on the video and everything, go watch the show we did last year. We covered it in extreme detail.
Yeah, I go to work sick because I save my sick days for Bigfoot sightings. People are like, "Go home, you're sick." I'm like,
somebody might sight a Bigfoot near here.
I can't run out of my sick leave in case there's a good Bigfoot sighting locally. I can get my butt down there. Yeah, nothing makes me sicker than not being able to get on the scene as soon as possible.
So make sure that you're kind to everyone. Safety first, last, and always. Pay it forward. Don't be mean to people if you don't have to be. Don't flip off the mountain giant. Don't poke Dogman with a stick. Don't punt the Puckwudgie. And for God's sake, whatever you do not hug the Wookiee.